Welcome to the Right Wing American Show. I am Uncle Sam, and on this show we do not use the word progressive because it's not progress. On this show we debunk leftist myths using facts because in the end, facts do not care about your feelings. On today's show, we will be talking about two terms that the left uses to justify racial injustice. Those two terms are white privilege and social justice. The first term that the left likes to throw around a lot is white privilege, or white supremacy. Now, there are too many variables that determine your success in America besides race. I mean, race doesn't even it's not even involved in your success in America. It's all about your choices. And I don't know why the left does that, because the left is supposed to be the group of people that are tolerant and not racist, but it seems like when they do white privilege that they're grouping people based on their race. I mean, they believe that every white guy is going to be at the top 1%, and if you're a minority, you're going to be sitting in poverty your whole life. I mean, that's kind of racist in my opinion, because they group you by your race. And if the whites are really that privileged, then why is the suicide rate in the white community higher than the suicide rate in the black community? I mean, if we were really that privileged, if white people were really that privileged and they were sitting comfortably in the top 1% in society, don't you think that the suicide rate would be a little bit lower? I mean, that doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, white people are committing suicide at a rate higher than blacks, and that does not support the white privilege argument. And if there is such thing as privilege, it's the privilege of having a two-parent household. Alright, let me share some statistics with you guys. The two-parent household in the black community, alright, when there's two-parent households in the black community, the poverty rate is 7%. 7%. That's a really low poverty rate, alright? But that's opposed to the single mother in the white community, alright? The single mother in the white community is in poverty 22% of the time, alright? There's only a privilege to having a two-parent household, alright? And in the black community, 70% of families are run by single mothers, alright? 70% of families are in wedlock, alright? In the black culture, there is just this culture of having babies before you're married. I mean, that's a culture in the black community, I think. It's all about culture. It has nothing to do about race. It has all to do about culture. And the privilege is having a two-parent household as opposed to only one parent, alright? Because when you're a single parent, you're more likely to be less fortunate, alright? So there is no racial privilege. There's no white privilege. The only privilege is having a household with two parents, alright? The left has also used the term white privilege to shut white people up when they're arguing with a conservative white person, because if you're white, you must be racist. They like to pull this race card, which I don't get it, because the left is supposed to be the not racist ones, which we're not racist. We're not racist conservatives. Conservatives are not racist. But it's funny because they like to pull this race card, and that, by definition, is racist. If you're trying to shut someone up because they are white, that's racist. And why would you use the term white privilege? I mean, that's the term that the left uses to shut white people up. But let's not forget about one thing, alright? The best privilege that everyone has in this country is the privilege to be an American, alright? This is the land where you can make anything out of yourself, no matter who you are, where you come from. It's the American dream, alright? If you were born into the bottom 20% of wage earners, you will not be in the bottom 20% of wage earners 95% of the time. Alright? That's because there's a lot of wage mobility and moving up and down in our income wage ladder. Alright? The greatest privilege is to be an American, where you can be whoever you want and make anything out of yourself, no matter where you come from. Alright? That's the real privilege. The second term that the left likes to throw around is social justice. Now, social justice is the act of achieving justice on the group level rather than the individual level. What does that mean, you may ask? Well, when you achieve group justice, that means you are associated by group and by race sexual orientation. Alright? So if I belong to the white, heterosexual, cisgendered male, alright? That's the group I belong to. So if someone in my group does something bad, commits a crime, that means I'm held responsible as well, alright? And it seems weird that the left throws this term around because social justice is a racist term. We're grouping people by their race, sexual orientation, and we are saying that if someone from their group does something bad or does something good, then they are also doing something bad or something good, alright? And this is actually related to communism or socialism because it's working for a communal good. You're with a group, alright? We need to achieve individualism, alright? Individualism. We are going to have justice at the individual level because when justice is done at the individual level, everyone is held accountable for their actions and no one else in their group should be held accountable. It's all at the individual level. You have to strive for your own goodness, and if you mess up, you're the only one held accountable and no one else, alright? That's how it should be done, but the left likes to do social justice, where you are held accountable at the group level, depending on your race or sexual orientation, or however they want to group you, alright? And that, by definition, is racism at the highest order. Alright, and I don't know why they use that term because they're supposed to be against racism. I mean, every white person has to be a racist according to the left, right? And this is why the left is so for equality of everyone, is because they start to think in groups and not individualism. They have lost all sense of individualism. When you think in groups, you stray towards the communist or socialist economic platform because you're working with a group. As a group, you are working for your group success, alright? Not for your own success, you're working for group success, alright? And that's not how things should be done, and that's why social justice is a terrible leftist ideology. It needs to be stopped immediately. Social justice has spurred affirmative action programs within the United States because it blames white people for slavery, which, yes, it's ignorant to say that blacks were not once oppressed or minorities were not once oppressed in the United States, but that was 150 years ago, and their grandchildren, like slave owners' grandchildren, are supposed to be held accountable for this. Alright? This is holding white people accountable for something that their white grandpa, great-great-grandpa did 150 years ago. Last time I checked the calendar, it's 2017, alright? We need to move on, and we need to stop labeling or achieving justice at the group level. That's basically my point here, is that we can't do this at the group level because then we start holding people accountable for what they don't even do or don't even believe. Like, I don't believe in slavery, but, you know, a great-great-great-great-grandpa of mine, he didn't even live here, alright? They lived in somewhere in Europe, alright? But holding me accountable for my grandpa's actions, that does not make any sense, alright? And that's why I don't believe in social justice. I believe in individual actions and individual good, not a group good, alright? And that's basically the point of this whole video. Thank you for watching. If you want to email me any conservative, or if you argue against my point of views, email me at rightwing1776.american@gmail.com. Thanks. I am Uncle Sam. We will see you on our next show.